Okay, so I'm doing the first Zoom over so that everyone can join in because I did it on my phone last time and it was unfortunately not recorded. So here it is, just so we can have it for y'all to access. So it was like a 4-part, actually it was a 5-part Zoom. So I have notes to just stay on track, but the first thing I want to talk about, just in kind of getting back to the basics, like we talked about, is your why. So again, this was from December 12th. So it was the first one that we had as our new legacies page, which was super fun. So the first foundation of what we're going to talk about is, getting back to your why, the ins and outs of that. The second thing is just business ownership in general. The third thing is time management, which also leads into organization. And then the very last thing is accountability. So if you guys can figure out these 5 things and, not necessarily master them, but just feel comfortable and confident within these 5 things, your business is going to literally thrive. It's going to be awesome. So the very first thing, like I said, is your why. So I started everything with a quote. The first quote is from Joel and Stephanie Dunn from Atlanta. And they literally just said, when your why is strong enough, the how doesn't matter, you'll find a way. So everything from this Zoom is kind of a recap of all of the things. Sorry, I have a candle burning and it looks like my computer is on fire. Everything is a recap from this summer, from just leadership summits, from One Team, One Missions, from VIP trainings with Mark, the women's conference with Cindy. So I have a lot of different notes and I just kind of have been compiling them into these categories. So sort of a summer recap so that we finish the fall and finish winter strong and then really dive into 2017 feeling really confident as individuals and, within the team. So the why that you have, like we said, if your why is strong enough, then your how doesn't matter. You'll make it happen. So I know that Mike Patillo and Pam and Mark have said, your why should make you cry. And I actually talked to someone today, and it's not that I don't agree with them, but I don't want you to think that your why isn't worthy or your why isn't good enough if you're just not an emotional tearjerker kind of person. So for me, not a big crier. However, my why is super strong nonetheless. So that's just kind of a rule of thumb that they have. But I've literally had a couple of you guys be like, I don't cry because my why isn't good enough. So yes, if it's something that fuels you to get to your next promotion, to build your business and be an awesome leader, then yeah, it's definitely good enough. And your why is the foundation of your business. So it's going to fuel you on your off days. It's going to fuel you on those slow seasons when you think this isn't worth it. Your why is what's going to remind you that it is. And it's going to help you develop a vision as a business owner. So which in turn is going to help you develop other people's visions. And that's really the purpose. And when you think about this business, it's so multifaceted. Yes, it's about wraps. It's about greens. It's about being a distributor. But if you do this right, it's also about developing leaders and developing yourself as a leader and in turn being able to develop others. So, your why is going to evolve as you achieve your goals. And that's why it's so important to have vision, like we talked about, because your vision is what is going to stay constant as you achieve goals. And as your why is evolving, your vision is that overarching umbrella that's going to stay the same. So you need to find out what you're passionate about, what's going to fuel you. So that is going to, kind of help determine your why and your goals for each season. But your vision is literally what makes your heart beat. So that's kind of what I just wanted to talk about is within that is really simple, but just kind of identifying it and figuring out is your why the same as you leave 2016 and enter 2017, or maybe it's different. Maybe, it's shifting and that's totally normal. That's necessary. So just being really diligent this week in writing that down, your why, your bigger overarching vision, and just things that you're passionate about, things that fuel you. So the second thing is business ownership. So again, I have a quote from Kim, and this was from a phone conversation that we had a couple weeks back. and she was just talking, and like everything she says, I like wish I could record. But just in general dialogue, she was like, we all earned the right, what did she say? We all earned the right to design the life that we want. And I was like, gosh, that's so profound. Like, you literally have the right to design whatever you want your life to look like. And that in and of itself should be enough of a why for anyone. You know, it's like, you don't get that opportunity in other jobs usually, you know, especially not on your own terms. So like, what a privilege and what an honor it is to have the right to design whatever life you want. Like, that's so freaking cool. And remember, like with business ownership, like you are your own boss, you know, so that's like one of the main things you need to keep remembering is like, I'm not your boss. The person who signed you up isn't your boss. Lori, it's not your boss. Kim's not your boss. Like, you are your own boss. The person who writes your checks is It Works Global. You know, your team leader, your presidential, your ambassador, they're not the one writing your check. They're not the one that you're responsible to. You're responsible to yourself. You're responsible to your family and to your team to an extent, you know, as making sure that you are, you know, facilitating leadership for them and making sure that you're pointing them where they need to go. But, you know, nobody is your boss. Like, I can't make you do anything. Everything on this page, this Legacies page, everything on Ambassador Bound, it's an example. It's a suggested training. This is what has worked for me. It may work for you too. This is what's worked for Lori. Maybe you'll identify with that. But it's not me saying, this is like the magic golden ticket that you need to be a presidential, like just do this thing that I did and you'll get there. Like, there's no quick fix. It's not a get rich quick scheme. This is not a flash in the pan business. This is learning how to be a business owner. This is learning how to budget. This is learning how to do, you know, time management, business organization, things like that, how to, you know, set aside finances for taxes. It's so simple. It's very small, little things, but it's things that, again, we will train you the best that we know how. And I will do my absolute best to use this page and use these, you know, the photos and the videos and Zooms to focus on really practical things, as well as just, you know, like fundamental and like mindset things that I'm learning as a leader. But it is up to you to really like chart the course where you want to go, which again is super cool. You don't have to wait on somebody else to promote you. Based off of your hard work, you can get there. So that's one of the things that sets this company apart too, is, you know, you're directly compensated for the amount of work that you do. And I mean, in my previous job, I was working so hard and I was like really not compensated for it. And I was super blessed by my job, and I really loved what I did, and I absolutely loved my supervisor. But if I were paid for like the man hours that I put in, like I should have been paid so much more, you know? So now this is super cool where there is a business where, you know, you can kind of say, wait, okay, I want to make $3,000 a month. That means I need to get to this rank. How can I get there? And you can literally pick the pay grade that you want to be in and use the training and the tools and leadership and the team that we have to get there. And I mean, that's so, so wonderful. So, I mean, there's 7 ambassadors on this direct team, this direct upline underneath Lori Conway and underneath Kim, but it goes beyond that because we are under Lori and Quentin Conway. So technically there's even more ambassadors in our upline, but every single one of them has a different style. You know, I'm a presidential diamond. I have a very different style than my direct ambassador. It doesn't mean that what she does or what I do is right or wrong. It just means it's our culture, it's our style, and you need to, that's why we talk about copying the right cat. Not necessarily that someone is right or wrong, but it's right or wrong for you and your personality and, you know, the way that you communicate and the message that you want to portray, and just figuring out, okay, who do I identify with as a distributor, as a leader? What kind of culture do I want to create on a page? What kind of legacy do I want to leave as, you know, an individual and as an It Works distributor? And just finding the people who you identify with and following them. Yeah, so the other thing is be authentic. I use that word a lot. I think authenticity is absolutely vital for any relationship, and this business is built on relationships. So Everett Bose always says, people are going to buy into you before they buy the product. And I think that's just genius. Like, it's so accurate. So if someone sees me and they're like, you know what? No, like, I don't trust her, too good to be true, or like, she's weird, or like, whatever, like, they're not going to join my team, even if they think like the wraps, even if they've tried a product from some random sample and they see me posting in a way that they don't trust or they don't buy, they're going to find somebody else, So there's always going with social media. It's kind of, it's the cool thing about how you can expand your market so much by utilizing social media, but it also, if you're not utilizing it well and representing yourself in public and online in a way that draws people in, they are going to be able to find another distributor through Instagram or through Facebook. So if I'm trying to post in a way that works for Lori or works for Amanda Pruitt or Michelle Payne, who have children and have, just a different type of lifestyle than I do as a 26-year-old who doesn't have kids, and, my passions are different, and I'm trying to fit myself into a box that fits them. Like, it's going to come through as being inauthentic and being untrustworthy. So that's something that I want you guys to all remember is I'm not ever going to say, do what I do to like be successful, but it's like, follow my lead or follow my example and incorporate that into the way that you communicate and the way that you want to post and, the way that you want to be seen and the type of people that you want to attract, so just being able to identify your audience, identify your voice, identify your passions, and let that, be seen by the way that you sit down and talk and make it super simple. I always tell people when you're communicating, and this is kind of getting off on a tangent, but when you're communicating to someone, just communicate to them the way that you would want to be communicated to, and the way that you would respond to. So if you're going to send someone a super long text or a super long message, think to yourself, if I got this text or if I got this message, would I respond to it? Would I read the whole thing? Would I even be interested? And not manipulating, because I've heard people say like, oh, you train us to, disgruntled distributors who quit, like you train us to manipulate people by like pretending to care about them. And I'm like, well, no, if that's like what you interpreted, then that is on you. But we literally are just talking about creating relationships, creating connections, and not, jumping into like this super long message to people, but figuring out their color personality, figuring out what they need, and like that, the file that we have, be who they need you to be, is so vital. So just being authentic, and, just, taking ownership of your business legacy. So moving on, time management, trying to focus on that. Let me stay on track here. Cami Dempsey, love her. Come on, doesn't get much better than Cam. So she said this quote, decide that you don't want your tomorrow to look like your today. And I mean, I really like that, because even if your today is like freaking rocking on, like you want your tomorrow to be even better, So like, what's the point of repeating a day? Unless it's like, this is the perfect day, and it's your wedding and you want to recreate it. Like, I get that. But other than that, you want every single day to be unique, to hold unique opportunities and challenges. And you want it to be a way that you can grow, and you want it to just be better, and you want to be a better version of yourself at least for me. So with time management, it's super crucial for just maximizing the hours in a day. Kind of, Kim always says to work smarter, not harder, and it seems so basic, but it's like, how do I do that? And it's managing your time well. It's utilizing the tools that you have. So again, when we think about the basics of this business, I always tell people when they're thinking about signing up, we are built on this business fundamental, this business principle called the steps to success. And you're literally paid to sign up distributors. You're not paid to train them. It is your leader's job to facilitate training. It's your leader's job to help, point out the tools that you have. And it's as a new distributor, it's your job to keep signing people, and just building that team. And then as you grow and as your team grows, then yes, you're going to start, facilitating trainings, and you're going to start, pointing people in that direction. But you don't have to sign somebody up and then be responsible for knowing every single answer to every single one of their questions. You know, that's the purpose of having a team. That's the purpose of being an independent distributor and an independent business owner under the umbrella of team, you know, of Legacies, under the umbrella of, you know, Ambassador Bound, under the umbrella of Kim, you know, so you're not ever doing this on your own, but you are in charge of, you know, kind of forging your own path. So it's sort of like staying in your lane along the same course as everyone else, but understanding that your journey is going to be different. But your goal is steps to success. That is the business fundamental. So you want to maximize the compensation plan, of course, as everybthat does. And that was one of my most common questions that I asked over and over when I was in my first year, second year, like, how do I make the most out of the compensation plan? And this is something that I will talk about later, but I've just been kind of, you know, learning more about it because I'm not green at all. I'm actually like straight purple. I'm a very blue personality and a very red personality put together. And the green and the yellow, not so much. So I have a lot of learning there. But there is two parts of the compensation plan. There's one that's before Diamond and then one that opens up after Diamond. So that's why I like pray that everyone's goal is to get to Diamond, because that's whenever, you know, the finances just starts flowing in. There's so many bonuses. There's so many opportunities that come with that. So, of course, your first goal as a distributor is to get that Ruby, building yourself to Ruby, understanding how to do it, understanding the practical ways of doing that, and then, you know, realizing, okay, cool, I'm a Ruby leader. All I have to do now is show somebody else how to do what I just did. And once you build 2 rubies underneath you, then you're an emerald. Once you add another ruby to the, you know, side by side with them, you have 3 underneath you, you're a diamond. It's not that hard. It's just understanding what is the steps to success. It's building yourself to Ruby and then duplicating that with the people under you, the people who have trusted you to join your team that you're now helping, that you're helping get a Ruby bonus, that you're helping get that $500-$600 income, that you're helping get those $100 fast start bonuses by signing up their friends and family. And you're helping set people free financially while you're also building your own legacy and you're building your team. It's super cool how this whole compensation plan is set up to be mutually beneficial. So it's not, you know, it's not selfish to want people to grow. You know, it's just neat how this company rewards people who are leading well by giving bonuses for promotions, but it also helps meet people right where they are at the same time. So, you know, make a goal calendar, which is something I'm going to talk about in the future. So how I did that, you know, work backwards from, you know, your goal. If your goal on January 31st is to be Ruby and it's January 1st and you're brand new, okay, cool. You need 5 people. Let's work backwards for the month of January to figure out the timeline of when you need to sign those people by and how you want to help them get their 4 customers and then, you know, claim that Ruby. So just things like practical, having the mindset of, you know, we always say, think like a diamond, having a big picture mindset, remembering your why, focusing on your vision and your passion, but paired with the practical tools of goal calendars and your DT trackers and your LZ trackers and things. So, okay, yeah, one of the things that I want to focus on that I wrote down here is look at how you're currently operating your business and ask yourself, what is fruitful and what is fruitless? Because that's where you'll see what you're good at and what you're not. Like, not in a bad way, but understanding what's fruitful is probably your area of strength. And then what's fruitless, if you're spending equal amount of time in 2 areas and one of them is fruitful and one of them is fruitless, then understand this is my strength, this is my weakness. And it's not your role or your goal to try to make every single thing a strength. That's building horizontally, and that's going to just wear you out. You want to figure out, this is my strength, and start building on that vertically. So when you start building your goals vertically, that's when you're going to start getting rejuvenated and energized and see, oh my gosh, like I love this, I'm passionate about this. But if you just try to make everything a strength horizontally, you're going to get so burnt out and so worn out. So That's just something like just analyzing like, okay, like what can I do better, but like with minimal effort. Like I said, just working smarter and then recognizing what comes naturally to you and really, really capitalizing on that. One of the things that I had mentioned, it's so funny because of course, like I went to college and I studied business for the first part of it and then realized, wait, I actually want to be a journalist. So that was an interesting switch from an international and small business degree to journalism and music. But anywho, one of my freshman classes I took was economics, and I actually really enjoyed economics just because when I talk about the red personality, I've always enjoyed knowing how money operates and where money comes from and where money goes, things like that. So again, one of the terms that they had was an opportunity cost. I'm just going to read this to you because it's a lot better than if I just tried to remember. But one of the things I literally always remember is the principle of an opportunity cost. And the actual dictionary definition is an opportunity cost is a benefit, profit, or value of something that must be given up to acquire or achieve something else. So the opportunity cost is literally something that you're sacrificing to gain something else. And that is so vital within business, within the economy, things like that. So it's like, if I have $5, but like I want food, like my opportunity cost is I'm giving up that $5 that I could spend on something else. Like the opportunity cost is the other item I could have purchased instead of the food. You know what I mean? Of course I choose food because that's like where my heart is. But, it's just literally like when you put it into practically like practical, it works business mindset. The opportunity cost is usually time. Time that you could spend doing something that you're giving up to achieve your goal. So like I said, in my first year, I had a full-time job. So I worked full-time as a journalist, somehow, praise God, used my journalism degree against everyone's, like wildest dreams. But the opportunity cost was I never watched TV, and I was very sort of alone. So it was a little bit different, but I was in a new community, in a new environment, and I really wanted friends. And that was why I got into this business, was of course to make that extra $500 to have some savings so that I had a little bit more comfort in case of an emergency. But my job was paying my bills. I had nothing left at the end of the month, so I just wanted a little extra. And I really wanted community. So I was like, instead of coming home after work and, making a big dinner for myself or for myself and my boyfriend and watching television or a movie, I was like, okay, I'll just like whip up something super quick and then like start making hundreds lists, start watching YouTube videos, start messaging people, start learning about the products. And I did not the bare minimum, but I didn't overwhelm myself and try to do too much at once. But I understood, like, I caught the vision and I was like, this is something that could really, really lead to the life that I want. So I'm willing to give up trivial things right now. So, and it may not be something trivial. Like right now, my life is completely different. So I sometimes have to say no to really good things in order to get something better, So right now it's like, hey, new boyfriend, no, I can't go on a date right now. Or, hey, family, like I can't have a movie night with you guys, or husband, like I can't do your laundry right now. You have to do your own, or let's all like, microwave a super quick Stouffer's lasagna instead of me like whipping up like a homemade, organic one. And it's not that those things are not important, but you're literally saying like our family's legacy is more important than this momentary experience, because the many, many more experiences I'm going to gain through freedom is going to be worth it, and just kind of figuring out what are you willing to give up to gain something better. So moving on, organization is the next thing I want to talk about. And I know a little bit ago I referenced the LC tracker and the DC tracker or DT tracker, which are, of course, in our files. So if you have not printed those, please do. They're vital. They're amazing. Organization is something I think a lot of people struggle with. Don't think that you're the only one. it's not something that is usually really natural for people. It's something that's learned. It is a process. So we have a lot of files, a lot of tools. So it's literally just coming down to like being prepared. And that's why, again, with goal calendars, you're visualizing what do I need to do to get where I want to be, and then utilizing the tools that we have. So having Blitz cards on hand, you know what I mean? Like, it seems so simple, but how many times have you been in a situation where you're like, oh my gosh, I'm in a great conversation, or there's this person who's a waitress and I wish I had a Blitz card, or whatever. Just being prepared, understanding the lingo and the dialogue that you want to use. Hey, I have a quick coupon for you if you'd be interested. You know, and then just printing out hundreds list is so big. So of course we talk about having a 100s list, but I would challenge you to have 4 100s lists, which of course seems like a lot, but I have one for loyal customers from like Facebook or in person. And I have one for distributors for Facebook and in person. So again, that challenges me to Blitz, because if I don't have a full hundreds list from like, not necessarily just human interaction, but from creating connections on Facebook and from going out into the community, then I know where I need to work that week. So creating those hundreds lists, and then I have a 100s list for loyal customers and another one for distributors from Instagram, because that's super hard to track. You can't create lists or anything like that on Instagram yet. So having those continuously evolving 4 lists keeps you on your toes and just like gives you kind of like little mini challenges. So if you're new, you don't have to start off with 100, but if you have 50 people on each list or 25 people, you know, and then just creating, you know, printing out the memory jogger and going onto Facebook and joining groups. So the groups is so great. You go to Discover on your Facebook, and then you go to Local, and then click See All, and just find groups. Like, I'm not going to join a mom's group because I'm not a mom. You know, I'm not going to join a farming group because I'm not a farmer, but I can join a group of like girls who want to do a clothes swap, or people who are creatives, or, you know, musicians or whatever, you know, and just finding things, again, that are beyond this company, things that you're passionate about, and engaging in them and creating actual meaningful, real connections that then lead to like authentic conversation. The other thing with organization is Facebook lists. So I know that this is kind of new as of this summer, the past couple of, you know, months, but I have multiple lists. So for example, I have PLCs, PDTs, people to engage with, local girls, people exclude from It Works posts, different things like that. Current distributors, current loyal customers, other MLMs. So as you're posting things, you don't have to overwhelm your wall over and over and over. You can, like, especially for being pretty much on staff at a church, if I'm going to post a before and after of a girl wrapping her thighs, like, I don't necessarily want my pastors to see that, so I will exclude them, you know, or I could only target like potential loyal customers who I know are interested in wraps or whatever. Like, that would be super specific, but things like that. So the lists are really awesome. And again, printing out the trackers for the loyal customers and the distributors. And we also have a PLC and PDT follow-up tracker, which I need to make sure is on there, because those are really great. So just if you could get organized now so that when 2017 comes, you're ready, absolutely 1,000% do that. The fifth thing, the very last thing I want to talk about, just kind of like wrap it up, since again, this is the second time I've done this Zoom, is accountability. So like I said, you're your own boss. I'm not your boss. Lori's not your boss. We don't write your checks. Remember that you, like I said, you have team leaders. We're here to help you. We're here to facilitate leadership. We're here to facilitate growth and just helping, you know, inspire in ways. And that's going to be your goal, is like, and your role with your team is you want to inspire people, but motivation comes from within. So if you're like, I'm not motivated right now, like, that's not my problem, you know, or like when I'm not motivated, that's not Lori or Kim's problem. You know, they're kind of like, hey, let's talk through it. What's up? Like, what blind spots, you know, do you maybe have that, like, or that I have that they need to identify, you know, kind of giving people the authority to like be be a little bit of accountability in terms of leadership. But at the end of the day, like if I don't want to work my business, I'm not going to work my business. Nobody can make me want to do it, you know, and like that's pretty much how it is with a lot of women about most things. So, you know, just you're accountable to yourself. So I have a couple questions to ask yourself that this has been helpful for me. This is from Pam when we were in Atlanta at the VIP training. She said, ask yourself 5 questions. What am I doing in my daily and weekly schedule to grow my individual business? Secondly, do my posts demonstrate a passion for the products? I loved this because that was one thing I absolutely was not doing. I was posting, I was very mundane, routinely posting about, you know, my greens and my hair, skin, and nails and, you know, the wraps here and there, but I wasn't this like passionate, like firsthand account. And that's why, you know, I really want to challenge everyone to use these products and get your own before and afters, because this business thrives off of people using and loving our products, you know, so that's what's going to get you to those, you know, bigger promotions. So that's what's going to get you to those VIP ranks and then help you, you know, maintain them and never lose it, is having loyal customers who have followed your passion for the products. That's one of my biggest challenges right now that I'm, you know, giving myself, is making sure I'm doing that consistently. Number 3, how often am I wrapping people? 4, how often am I hosting parties? Really big. Online parties, of course, are great, but like in-person parties too, or one-on-ones, you know what I mean? So having those like one-on-one coffee dates, bringing wraps, bringing samples, things like that. So again, kind of reconstructing what a party is, but being really intentional with that time spent with others, genuinely focused on talking about the products and the business. And then number 5, how often am I blitzing? Sorry, my computer keeps moving because my cat is like rubbing her face on it. So again, you may be like first day, first week in, or you may be like, you know, second year in, but just remember, like, your team is going to follow your example. And it doesn't mean that you are responsible for the successes or the failures, but you are responsible to just yourself and knowing, like, I did the best I could for each individual person, you know, and everyone's going to have off days, but just remembering your why and your vision so that you can kind of bounce back, and having people around you that you've given the authority to, you know, keep you in check, because everyone's going to need that. I need that. You're going to need that. And don't wait. The other thing that I was thinking about is, like, don't wait for a title to start acting like a leader, you know? So I've said this many times, I'll probably say it a million times more, is our ranks don't determine leadership. Our ranks literally are just meant to show you that you achieved your goal. Our ranks are to show you, hey, you're now in this financial bracket, like you have these bonuses now, whatever, but it's not, oh, if you're a diamond, you're a leader. Like, no, if you're an executive and like you have leadership principles and you're helping others and like you have big vision, like you're a freaking leader. So like own it, you know? So don't think that you're disqualified from leading or disqualified from influencing or inspiring people because you don't have a certain rank, because that's BS. So like being a prez, yeah, it's cool. And like I have different insights and I have a different journey and I have achieved success, but it doesn't mean that I am a greater person or a greater distributor or, you know, any more of a leader than, you know, someone who's a Ruby and like is a baller and has an awesome mindset and is literally like focused on inspiring others, you know? So leadership is not confined by rank. Rank is literally just to show you that you reached your goal. Of course, there is a privilege. I have a lot more people to not necessarily look after, but, you know, help focus on and everything. And so I'm not diminishing promotions at all, but I just don't want you to view them as like, I'm not good enough yet, because like, no, you are absolutely worthy. You're absolutely good enough. So the other thing is, again, going back to like your team, and of course you have responsibility to yourself and you want to be the best you can be. But if people quit, because this was really big for me, is I've had a lot of people who I really love and I've worked with, and good friends of mine who diamond, double diamond, triple diamond have just quit out of nowhere. And it's been super, super tough. The summer was really hard because I had a lot of really good friends who I was doing this from, you know, my first 1, 2, 3 months. who just are no longer doing this with me. And it's hard sometimes to feel like you've been like almost deserted, or like maybe I wasn't good enough, or what could I have done better to keep them around. And I just kind of had to release that. And you have to understand that pressure produces results, you know, and whether it's just a refining process is not something to run from. So when you're in a situation where there's pressure, or where there's, you know, just any sort of like strife, or you feel like it's refinement, or it's like, gosh, this is a struggle, don't run from that, because that's what's developing your leadership testimony, and that's what's going to create a leadership story for you. So you're either hungry or you're not. Your team is either hungry or they're not. Like you can't force feed someone who doesn't want to feed themselves. So don't get too caught up with, you know, like shoving things down people's throat and like wanting things for people who don't want them for themselves. Always create opportunity for everyone to learn, to approach you, but just understand like you need to set the tone and set the temperature of success and of passion and of drive. And the people who respond to that are the people who are going to be in this with you for, you know, years and years to come. And you're going to be an ambassador, and then you're going to watch them become ambassadors. But you can't force someone to be an ambassador, because it's tough, but it's worth it, you know. But it's going to be the people who want it have to want it for themselves. Last thing I want to say is a Denise Walsh quote. She said, it's you become what you think about. Decide what you want and be in your mind before you act, and you will make it happen. Oh, wait, decide what you want to be in your mind. That's what it is. And you will make it happen. So just decide that you want this and go make it happen.